You can start.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar this morning. Okay, so for most of you that are South African based, we're starting to experience the chill of winter sneaking in. I believe you've all received the invite to see what the topic of today is. And that is to discuss the best practices for CRM and businesses. So let's just kick off. So most of you have seen the article that we maybe launched on IT Web, all our social media pages, and we're going to be discussing today how we can achieve CRM, we all know is customer relationship management software, and omni-channel implementation success. So CRM omni-channel systems or solutions can completely overhaul and improve the way you run your sales organization. But it is also flawed with risk. So I'm going to talk today about the keys to a successful implementation. So by introduction, my name is Janice Sutadantu, and I am the sales director of the Caligo Group, a sister company of what most people know as Scopes of Integrated Services. We help clients through their contact center, back office, and customer journeys in a centralized platform, seeing the world through one single pane. So whether you're implementing or currently deploying a CRM such as Salesforce or Microsoft CRM, or about to implement one, it is important to recognize that there are benefits to implementing CRM and omnichannel solutions, but there are also risks, and ensuring success is by no means guaranteed. So what we find is that there are a lot of different nuances to these types of implementations, that they are even different from ERP and other types of enterprise software technology projects. So what I want to share with you today are some of the best practices we found in helping clients implement their CRM and omnichannel journeys. I've got 6 points, and then we'll close off with some keys. Okay, so the first one I want to discuss is define your business needs. So the first step to a successful CRM or omnichannel implementation is to clearly define what your business needs are. Now, this is where it starts to get a little tricky, because we are talking about typically a sales organization and sales operations, organizations that make its living by selling and not trying to figure out how to implement the new technology. So a lot of time we see the initial resistance to implementations like these in the early stages when we're trying to define what the business requirements are and what they need. So it's very important that we understand what the sales and the sales organizations need, not just in terms of what they are doing today, but what's going to ultimately help them sell more, support better, and help them sell and support and service more effectively in the future. Now, a lot of the times, this entails a couple of different dimensions that we want to look at. We want to look at the individual sales reps or the individual sales teams and understand what tool sets would better enable them to sell more. We also don't want to look at what they need, but what the organization needs. We want to track not only your sales reps, but also the back office people, track customer behavior and trends such as AHT. Now, for those of you who don't know some of these acronyms, I'm going to spell them out. Is your average holding time, your FCR, your first call resolution, your CSAT, NPS, which your customer satisfaction, and how they are measured. And of course, lastly, your SLAs. How many calls are being answered, customer buying behavior and customer patterns. You want to identify upsell opportunities and all that kind of good stuff. That's not necessarily what agents and sales reps are thinking about. So we need to think outside of the box and not just what the sales reps and agents think they need today versus tomorrow, but also the things that the technology can enable that they may not be thinking about right now. So we really need to understand what those business needs are, what your expectations are from your organization, what you want it to look like in the future, are all really, really, really important to define early on in your CRM or omni-channel implementations. My next point is to define your state organization or sales organization. So in addition to defining what your business needs are from a business perspective, a business prospect, services or support perspectives, it is very important to look at your organization in the way you're structured today, the way roles and responsibilities are outlined, and how you want that to look in the future. So again, this is where not just what you're doing today, and what the sales teams or agents or operations think they need today, but also what they think they're going to need in the future, and also understanding how roles and responsibilities may be shifted around to optimize our overall efforts. So the different dimensions we need to look at here include things that are directly related in helping the sales team sell more, which generally you're going to get your team extremely excited about from an organizational change perspective. We also need to look at those nuances and those things that might benefit the organization overall, but might not benefit or harm in the perception of the sales team and how the project might impact them, right? So for example, a lot of the time sales reps are keeping a lot of knowledge in their heads about what prospects want or what they need, where they are in their sales pipeline and sales cycles. But it also benefits the organization to document that kind of stuff, and to make sure we translate that knowledge into more scalable set of processes as an organization. So in those cases, though the downside risk is that the sales reps or agents may view this is something adding administrative burden, and I'm laughing because that's generally how they feel, to now having them document more in the CRM. But we still need to define for better or for worse, whether they like it or not, at what the future state of the organization is going to look like. Once it's been defined, it's going to be a lot easier to implement the CRM and the omni-channel technologies to support whatever that might look like. Then the next key point is organizational change management. This is the biggest key to CRM and omni-channel success implementation, is the organizational change management. Now, this is also the #1 key to other financial systems or human capital management, or whatever the case might be, that is especially true for CRM and omni-channel. The teams can be affected by these implementations. Obviously, the reason for that is that these teams often find it more difficult to change because these kind of administrative burdens or anything related to the implementation in general is inherently taking away from revenue generation, commission generating types of activities, which these individuals are paid upon and measured upon, and that sort of thing. So change resistance tends to be a bit more severe in sales organizations than other parts of the organization. Now, this is a broad generalization, and it's not true to all organizations. But if we find, what we find time and time again is for the majority of organizations that sales reps and sales organizations teams that are used to just pounding the pavement and selling, they don't necessarily know anything about the scalability and reputable processes and documenting tribal knowledge, which is important to the entire organization as a whole. Those are often things that are are seen to be undermining the time that could be spent on generating more revenue and more commission. So it's relatively important, or I'd rather say it's really important, to manage those changes and help sales teams and sales operations teams to not only understand what's in it for them, but more importantly to figure out what's in it for the entire organization and how it's important for the entire organization. How is this going to make us more successful? By implementing these tools and technologies as well. Generally, by addressing both those components, again, you'll be able to manage the change more effectively. My fourth point is the integration, which everybody is talking about, integration into other systems. One of the benefits of CRM and omnichannel technology is that it is completely software-based and is specific to sales and customer service-driven organizations. It generally is going to do business processes and sales functions better than, say, for example, an ERP or any types of technology that might just secondarily, they'll do that secondarily compared to the CRM or the omnichannel that is, and obviously that is really, really good news. The bad news is that even though we have these kind of standalone CRM or omnichannel sales systems that do sales very well, now we've got to figure out how to tie that data and those processes back into the back office financial systems, so that when we start thinking about things like customer master data or commission and tracking commissions for what the sales teams are selling, or if you are a manufacturer of a make-to-order engineer type of product, how to capture, or how do we capture the product master data in such a way that the sales reps can figure out how to configure your product in a way that can provide an accurate estimate for the sales or for the proposals. So those are the type of things we need to do and are to be thought about, not just how technology will be implemented, but how the technology is going to be linked into the back office or any other system in the organization for that matter, along with the data that goes with it. And we certainly don't want to leave that behind. So really having a clear vision of what the integration is going to look like, and what the overall architecture is going to look like is a very important component of the CRM omnichannel implementations. And my second last point is also a very key point, is taking control of your implementation. So if you're a sales leader, a customer contact center manager, or a CIO, or whomever you might be that is leading the CRM omnichannel implementation, or part of the implementation for your organization, it can be awfully easy to say, you know what, we are busy. We have a lot of work to do just in our day-to-day jobs. We don't necessarily have the time to implement a new CRM or omnichannel technology. So let's just outsource this to a third party and let them figure it out and how they're going to implement this. And let them deal with the pains that go along with that kind of technology or implementation. And people that think like that, or organizations that think like that, that is generally kind of a recipe for disaster. So what you want to do is make sure you don't do that, because companies that outsource these initiatives completely are not the ones that, these are normally the ones that actually struggle the most and end up with product and transformation that does not align with what they wanted to get out of the system in the first place. So making sure you have complete control of the project and that it's not too much has been delegated to the system integrator is very important key here. Now, this is a lot easier said than done, specifically from outsiders or independent consultants. That is for the organization, that has to live with the results. But despite the short-term pain of getting more people from your sales organization, your customer service organization, or your contact centers involved in the project. So yes, that is painful and it's difficult and it may seem impossible, but the difficulty of not doing that in the longer term is a lot more severe and a lot more painful. So it's really a lot more important to make sure that you have control over your projects, that you have ownership, you have involvement and buy-in from key stakeholders and business process owners. These and those are the people that are ultimately defining that implementation and what that transformation means to you as the organization. You should not be relying on a system integrator or software vendor to do that for you completely. They are there to partner with you. Okay, then my second last point, obviously everybody needs to measure results. So as a part of the implementation and the business case for implementation, the idea is to define what the organization wants the CRM or Omni-Channel to do for you. What are those measurable results and outcome objectives we expect that the solution can deliver to the organization? That kind of business case will allow not only to justify the investment in the technology and implementation, but it also allows to measure actual results after the implementation. This is where a lot of companies fall short. They struggle to make the project go live, or just to get it go live and get the software implemented, that they don't actually take the time to go back and measure and see where did we get the benefits we expected and where did we fail to get the benefits. And now, how do we optimize those benefits we did not get? And part of it is because the implementations are so grueling and take longer than most people expect, that they just want to move on and go back to their day-to-day jobs once it's over. But it's also a function of the team members being afraid to look at the actual results because they know they're probably going to fall short from what they projected in the initial business case. So if you get past those two things and focus on what benefits are achieved and what are not achieved and how do we optimize those results, there is a likelihood that you will be a lot happier with the implementation and you're going to get a lot more business value out of the implementation, and you're going to find that it's better in the it's a better long-term fit in the longer term as you optimize that fit for your organization. So what are the key takeaways here? So the key takeaways here for any CRM or omni-channel implementation are to let your business needs, your sales organizations, sales operations, and your customer service organizations, or your contact center, let all the affected departments within your implementation, let those departments and team members and individuals drive the implementation, rather than deferring much to the technology or deferring much to the system integrator to drive what your organization is going to look like going forward. So having a clear vision and blueprint roadmap for what it is you want to be as an organization and going forward is going to give you a lot more direction and a lot more governance over your project or projects, and a lot more business value in the implementation longer term. So whether you're implementing a Salesforce or have it currently, or Microsoft CRM, or any other CRM for that matter, these are all things that will help you through your transformation. Now, some of the other challenges experienced in organizations and contact centers when it comes to the CRM solutions and contact center solutions is overall cost, leadership support, and transition. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough time today to cover all the challenges. So please keep a lookout for more of our informational webinars. The next one will be announced shortly, and we will probably cover the 10 questions about the 10 most asked questions about digital transformation. So I hope today I've given you some great keys that'll help you implement your CRM and omni-channel contact center solutions, and whether it's current or new, or you're thinking about it or something like that. So in today's remote world, customers require businesses to be very efficient and attend to queries without jumping through hoops or waiting too long to be attended to, working both in a work from anywhere or even a hybrid environment. We take away the endless questions that you get asked when you contact a contact center, such as your email address, having to confirm your telephone number several times, and all the hundreds of questions that they ask, and everything related to the customer's information is then readily available for the user. That information is then generated from just one central source. So QContact CRM and Omni-Channel tool lowers the cost for companies while improving customer satisfaction. It also allows teams to communicate internally through live chat, so it keeps employees connected, informed, and up to date on all the essential information through both group and individual messaging. Our solution is a platform built for a better customer experience. Bring all your calls, all your emails, social media, live chat, WhatsApp, reviews, and more into one central, as I mentioned in the beginning, single unified view, giving you all the information in one single screen, which is the latest that everybody wants in today's times. Enabling your staff then to handle customer queries quicker and letting your customers communicate how they want and when they want it without repeating themselves. So we connect your customers with your business anytime, anywhere, and any channel. We have hundreds of features for one set price, everything you need to help your business excel. The areas that we focus on is customer service, sales teams, e-commerce, and contact centers. So just a brief little on each, again, because we limit it for time. On the customer service side, our solution empowers your staff to provide world-class customer service anywhere, literally anywhere. Manage high volumes of customer queries across all channels effortlessly. And the most loved features in this section, because I can't cover them all, are the fact that you have a single view of a customer, advanced real-time reporting suites, coaching your staff from anywhere, chatbots and automation, and then ticketing. Sales teams, very easy. All the tools to allow your sales teams to spend more time selling and less time on repetitive admin work, and with the full visibility of your pipeline, and that you will never lose a prospect again, which is what we all want, right? Let's use some examples of what the most loved features here are in for sales teams is Kanban view of your leads and opportunities, customized lead lists with lead statuses, integrated phone and email, template responses, and electronic signatures. There's so much more, but I don't have time to elaborate on that today. The last two is e-commerce, because great customer service doesn't end with your website. With QContact, your customers will experience great experience, and it doesn't end when they leave your website. So I'm going to share with you the most exciting features here on our e-commerce side is seamless shop integrations, real-time order status payments and returns, all communication in one place. I keep saying that because it's really what we do well. WhatsApp integration, and then of course automation. Our last area of expertise is the contact centers on the Omni-Channel side, where you are providing customer service, technical support, sales, and more. QContact has all the tools your contact center needs to excel. Let me share why. This is the Omni-Channel customer support, live dashboards for a 360-degree view, instant access to service level agreements, net promoter scoring, and internal chats. We haven't even touched on automation, call routing, channels, compliance, CRM, marketing, reporting, security, and then of course telephony. We take away the need for companies to be running on various apps for business operations, such as accounting or ticketing apps. Our purpose is to unify business that creates central platforms, which in turn saves your business a lot of costs. We reduce costs for businesses by paying, instead of paying for all these disparate systems, and we connect and communicate them all together. And I'd like to just end off with, we are the glue that brings it all together. Thank you very, very much for taking the time to listen to our webinar today, and taking the time out of your work day. And I'd like to now introduce Oliver Wing from Q-Contact internationally. Thank you, Oliver, for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to have you here. And what we will do now is over to some Q&A.
Pleasure to be here, Janet.
Okay, thank you so much. Nolene, are there some questions here? We have one from Tumelo Poncho, I think. What are the key factors of a good CRM analyst in the workplace? Oliver, I'm going to throw you in the deep end because that's why Oliver's joined us today. He's going to be handling the Q&A. Fantastic.
So I think in terms of the key factors for a good CRM, first and foremost, you need it to be easy to use. So if your staff are struggling to use it, or it's too much effort to use it, then they're not going to use it. So the key thing there is to, how can we make it easy to use? Is it one click to make a call? Is it emails are automatically logged, or have I got to remember to do something each time? And then that leads on to data discipline. So making sure your staff do actually use it. Sometimes the management will say, okay, let's put a system in place, and then the staff choose not to use it because, it comes back to the first point, ease of use. So making sure your staff use it and have the discipline to use it. And then the main reason you're putting everything into a CRM is then help you later on. So reporting is going to be key. What information can you get out? What can you learn about your customers?
Thank you, Oliver. That was a good question, Tumelo. Very good question. Then from Tebogo, we have, how can we monetize the benefits of a CRM in a company?
Okay.
In the company, yeah.
Okay, it's another great question. So when you're trying to justify to a business, okay, we need to invest in a new CRM, or we need to add functionality. What can you say to the business, to the bean counters, to say, can we justify this investment? I think the first and foremost is first call resolution. So by having a CRM, be able to see the customer information, to be able to see their previous correspondence, can we resolve this query in one call or one email, rather than having to go backwards and forwards? Giving a CRM where you can see all the information related to that customer in one place can help you increase your FCR. It's also going to help your retention of customers. Customers hate repeating themselves. Customers hate having to speak to 3 different departments. So having a CRM that can show you information across departments is going to help you there. And then the final thing, obviously probably pertinent to today's webinar, is having that information, storing the information, tracking it, allows you to then retarget those customers through marketing. So by having the information collected in one place, you can then connect that through to your Everlytic or your MailChimp or some other marketing software using there to really broadcast the right message to the right people.
Great. Thank you, Oliver. Okay, so we have another lovely question here from Ravesh Komal. What will a modern omni-channel experience look like in the future for better customer experience for Africa, considering the technology constraints that not all customers having affordability to smartphones? Okay.
I think this is important because, particularly lots of some of the competitive leaders in this space come from a world, of everyone's universal smartphones. And, in Africa, we haven't necessarily got that experience yet. So some things that we can do to help that, things like text messaging is still, even with non-smartphones, with feature phones, SMS is a great way of communicating. We can offer two-way SMS, so you can not just send a message, but actually reply to it and have an ongoing conversation. USSD is still very prevalent across Africa, and that's obviously another great method of giving the ability to have the automation, the help and the support through the USSD service. We're also quite fortunate in Africa that a lot of carriers do zero-rated services. So sometimes they can access Facebook, but they can't access your website, for example. So being able to offer communication through Facebook Messenger or some other channels, or WhatsApp, which sometimes people have access to, but not, premium data. And then the other thing, we can stay old school. We're talking about telephone calls. Every phone can make and receive phone calls. So the ability to do things like speech recognition or IVR menus that then pull in information from different systems and give them the balance or the transactions to be able to conduct that. And this is the key thing with Omni-Channel. Each person might have different restrictions or different budget requirements. And so to be able to offer the service across, whether it's USSD, Facebook or SMS, that's what you really need to make sure you cover all the bases across the African peninsula.
Thank you, Oliver, for that. And I want to maybe just add into what Oliver's just said is that for the first time, the globe is seeing not just omni-channel disparately to CRM, it's together in one central journey. Okay, a lovely question from Johan Victor. Can your CRM system have functions like a telephone management system?
Yes, quite simply. You need a system that can connect to the telephone. It's still by far the #1 communication method. Even with the young generation these days, unfortunately not a member of, but they still, when they need an answer, they want to be able to pick up the phone. So it's great having the email or WhatsApp, but fundamentally the telephone is the important part for any business to get that real-time personal level of service.
Okay, then we've got a lovely, nice question here, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing any of these names incorrectly. I think it's somebody called Mutaza. We have, as I show presentation slide wherein we mentioned CRM will be integrated into other systems. Could you please tell me more on what that kind of system we will be able to integrate? Am I understanding that question correctly?
I can try and answer it. So from our side, from a Q content perspective, obviously I'm probably slightly biased in this regard. We have over 25 integrations with different platforms, and they can be things like a billing system. So let's take a typical example. Yes. We're talking about Xero, for example. When a customer calls in, I want to understand, are they behind on their bills? I can see that information there in one view. We recently integrated in with a video marketing platform. We integrated with things like Everlytic or MailChimp, where you can see what your marketing team is sending out. So when a customer contacts you and says, oh, I received a mail shot with a coupon for 50 Rand off the next purchase, you'll be able to see what was sent and understand that. It could be a ticketing system. There's lots of things you can integrate in with. And the key thing is, whatever system you go with, whether it's QContact or any other platform, is you need to go with a platform that's open to do these integrations, rather than we're another silo, we're a separate part of your business. Your telephone system lives on its own little world. You need something that's joined up and has open doors and can connect in to give you that 360 visibility, or the favorite phrase at the moment, a single pane of glass view onto your entire business.
I've got a question, and it's sparked by the person that asked this question, is what if I'm already running Salesforce? Okay,
so if you, for example, you've invested a lot of time, money, and effort in Salesforce, what you don't want to necessarily do is reinvent the wheel. So again, with our particular platform, there's the ability to connect into Salesforce. So rather than you having to replace it and those millions of rand you've invested in that business and in that Salesforce environment, we can connect into it. You can pick and choose which bits you want. And that's a key thing of any system. You might want to say, today, I just want to take phone calls because that's all I'm set up to do. But in the future, I'd like to be able to do this. I'd like to be able to do that. I'd like to be able to move off Salesforce or move on to Salesforce. Again, it comes back to that last question of an open platform where you can pick and choose the bits you want, and in a perfect world, not have to pay any more for the bits when you do want to add them later on.
Yes, exactly. We have a lovely question here, or it's actually a statement, I think. No, it's not a statement. It's somebody that wants to view, from Brandon Copley. I've got 2 questions from Brandon. Please, could you show me a visual view of what the unified com looks like? And then his second one was a view of the centralized communication. Does it show where the different communications came from? Etc. That's actually a beautiful question. But what I would like to suggest is that, Brandon, we do a full offline presentation to you, but maybe you can just answer that briefly there, Oliver.
Of course, I think this comes down to probably something that is important when we come back about the requirements of CRM. Is whilst you want to see it, and I'm sure Janet can set up a demo. The key thing for your staff is it shouldn't be any different from any different channel. So whether a customer calls us or emails us or WhatsApps us, or even writes a review on Hello Peter and you want to bring that into the contact center too, that should be one system, one view. Everything should look the same. It should be able to know what it is. So I should be able to see this is a WhatsApp or this is a Facebook, but it shouldn't be a fundamentally different experience depending on the channel, which gives your staff the ability to do things quickly without having to be retrained. If you want to add a new channel tomorrow, you can do that and just say, right guys, we're now adding Facebook into the mix. And it shouldn't need to be retrained. It should just be a seamless experience. And that's what you need to make sure whatever system you're going with, when you want to add these extra channels, it is that seamless view. Your reports are seamless. So when I want to say, right, well, how many times has this customer been contacted? I can see that communication across all the channels. And also, from my staff, I want to be able to see and report their effectiveness, their productivity across the channels too.
Okay, thank you, Oliver, again. And Brandon, lovely question, and I'll contact you separately. Another nice one from Johan Victor. Can your CRM system also work like a PMS system? For example, you can view the telephone costs client made at the room they booked in. I'm assuming this is going to be for the hospitality industry.
Great question. In terms of hospitality, there is an item on our roadmap to do with the Oracle hospitality platform. But again, the key thing from our side is if there's a particular requirement and there's an integration that needs to be done, we can always look at these integrations. Like I said, we've got many integrations under our belt, and we look to add many more. And there's definitely, the Oracle hospitality platform is hopefully coming soon.
Fantastic. Then we've got a nice question from Cornel Vance. Do you integrate via API?
Yes, we're an API first company. So absolutely every single feature that we have in our user interface can be done through our API. We're so confident of this because our user interface uses our API. So there's not a single thing that can't be done through the API.
Fantastic. Thank you, Oliver. Then a nice one again. Thank you from Johan Victor. I love all the questions coming through from you. Does your CRM system integrate in all types of current PBX systems? So free PBX, 3CX, whatever flavor. So
again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the key thing for the platform is to be open. Sometimes you will have an existing investment in a PBX. Sometimes you'll have contracts with likes of Vodacom or Telcom where you say we need to keep with these contracts. We can't switch our telephony. So the key thing for any platform is to be able to connect to 3CX or Free PBX or Sangoma or any other player out there that you need to connect with through open SIP protocols. And then if you wish to transition, you can. If you want to stay where you are, you can too. Giving that flexibility to pick and choose, pick and mix what you want is important. Right, got a lovely question from Lepedius. He's got a nice question here. For organizations that have SAP, ECC, or any other system with customer master data, which is one of the things I spoke about, is it possible to replicate the customer master data from that particular environment into QContact, and at the same time ensuring the master data remains in sync across both platforms when when there are changes? Great question, Lepedius. Fantastic. So what we always need to find is, where is the source of truth? What is the source of truth in your system? So if SAP is your source of truth, or Salesforce or Sage 300, whatever your platform, your source of truth is, we then sit on top of it and give you the window into that world. So sometimes clients say, I want QContact to be the source of truth, or sometimes they say, I want my e-commerce system or my ERP to be the source of truth. So we then push that information or pull the information as you deem fit. Let's say, for example, we're talking about Salesforce. I want to push maybe the call logs and emails back into Salesforce. So I've got one source of truth for my reporting too. it's not just sitting on top, it's the two-way integration and making sure the fact that that source of truth is the source of truth and is always updated with the extra information, but you're not manipulating and showing one contact information on our screen and a different on a different screen. Keeping the two in sync is key. And that's why the first thing you do as any part of any deployment is say, what is our source of truth? Which system is going to be that source of truth? Because we then connect across different systems, let's say, for example, I've got my SAP system, and separately I've got my marketing system or my e-commerce system, and the three do not talk to each other. Because QContact then can sit in between them, you can say, right, all the leads that come in through the SAP system, the contact information, I then want to tag them in the marketing system based on certain conditions or criteria. We can be that middleware that actually connects these disparate systems together and gives you a full communication between the platforms.
Fantastic. Okay, are there any more questions? Because now is the time to ask them. And we're loving the engagement, by the way. This is great. Any more questions? And we've managed to actually, Oliver, do this in 40 minutes.
Oh, fantastic.
So we've managed to share some great knowledge and do a great Q&A session. So what I'm going to suggest, if there aren't any more questions, and there's been some really great questions, we'll share this information with the people that have attended. Please keep a lookout again for some more of our knowledge base webinars where we're just going to be sharing knowledge only. The next one will be the 10 most popular questions on digital transformation. And if anybody wants to now book a demo with our team, please book one. We welcome those with open arms and look forward to engaging with you. And Oliver, I just want to say thank you again. He's all the way sitting in Spain, by the way, and for logging in and handling our Q&A that was so well handled. Thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome, Janet. Thank you for having me on.
All right. So if there's no more questions, thank you for attending today, and we look forward to speaking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.